When Australia was formed as a nation in 1901, we did so on the founding values of equality and fairness. The idea of a fair go is intrinsic to the Australian character, to who we are. The idea that we weren't going to reproduce the class-based hierarchy and division of other nations. And by the time we formed as a federation, we had the highest living standards in the world and the most equal distribution of wealth. We pioneered a fair wage, an 8-hour day, and equal pay for men and women. And yet I stand here today, and the country that I live in, Australia, the country that I love, bears none of the hallmarks of equality and fairness that we were founded upon. In fact, Australia has the most extreme abortion laws in the world. Up there with China and North Korea, we allow abortion through all 40 weeks of pregnancy, right up until birth and on demand for any reason. In Australia, we have no human rights protection for children in utero at any age. Victoria, this is where it began and this is where it must end. It is time for a new generation of Australians to rise up and fight. In 2008, when Daniel Andrews was Health Minister, it was here that a bill allowing abortion right up until birth and on demand was introduced and passed. And now for some good news. Daniel Andrews is gone! Woohoo! Good. But for the bad news, the legacy of this law. Since 2008, we know that 4,186 gestationally viable babies, these are babies who could have survived if born alive, have had their lives ended through late-term abortion. And close to 50% of these children, nearly half, are perfectly healthy with physically healthy mums. And the oldest in utero child to have died in Victoria was in 2011. It was a little child that was 37 weeks gestation, and she was killed in utero and born dead. She was perfectly healthy. Her mum was physically healthy. Why didn't they induce that 37-week-old child alive and allow her to be adopted out? Why did they kill her first and deliver her stillborn? Where was the protection for the human rights of that little girl? And this is a tragedy that all of these gestationally viable children, they're in the place where they should be safest, in their mother's womb. And it is there, while they are meant to be safe, that they are suddenly plucked out from that safety in the most horrific and violent way possible, and then they are born dead. Our children are meant to be safe. When even one child is abducted, the whole nation stops. Remember little Cleo Smith, who we all collectively held in our hearts when she was taken in the middle of the night by a stranger from a campsite in WA, plucked out from that tent. And we waited, held our breaths for 19 days until she was rescued and returned home safely to her mother. Every year there are 88,000 children who, in the place where they are meant to be safest, are taken by a stranger while they are peacefully residing, sleeping, eating, listening to their mother's voice. They are taken from that place where they are safe by a stranger and killed in the most violent way possible. There is nothing more disturbing than to think of a little baby asleep and taken by a stranger in the night, and yet that is legal in our country, wall to wall, right up till birth. Before 12 weeks gestation, we know that a little child is starved to death through abortion pills. We literally deprive them of food. Either that or we rip their body apart, obliterate it through suction abortion. Between 12 weeks and 22 weeks, this is the horror of a dilation and evacuation abortion. The abortion doctor goes in and takes one limb, rips it apart while this child is awake with no sedation or anesthesia. rips one limb and takes it apart with metal forceps, goes in, gets another limb and rips it apart with metal forceps, and does this to every part of the body until the skull is crushed, is when the terror ends and the child is finally at peace because they have died. But that is the unimaginable pain that they have to endure. And yet, if that child is wanted at that very same gestation, we mandate pain relief for in utero fetal surgery. Kourtney Kardashian recently had to undergo fetal surgery, and her child was given pain relief prior to that surgery taking place. But yet, through a D&E abortion, none of that happens. If we are a country that cares about equality and a fair go, then we have to care about these children. But nowhere is the inequality more stark than in children born alive moments after they're born. We know that in Australia, every week a child is born alive following an abortion. So people say that this doesn't happen, but we've looked at the Queensland and Victorian Department reports, and in just 2 states, every week a child is born alive and left to die without a legal right to care. In the coroner's report on Jessica Jane, Jessica was a little girl. Her mum went in for the abortion because she was concerned about her career. And so the doctor ordered the abortion. She was given pills and this induced labour, but they assumed that Jessica would be born dead because the process of delivery would be too traumatic. But Nurse Williams, who delivered Jessica, she was confronted with a little girl that was alive. Little Jessica was crying and whimpering. She was wriggling. She had good ABCAR scores. She weighed 515 grams. She looked about 23 weeks. And Nurse Williams called the doctor who ordered the abortion, and she said, "This little girl has been born alive. What do I do?" And the doctor said, "Sew," and hung up the phone. And Nurse Williams wrapped Jessica in a little blanket, but she put her on a metal kidney dish in an empty room, and Jessica lay there by herself for 80 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes until she died. In that same year, an unnamed baby at Westmead Hospital was found, and no one knows how long this baby had been dumped there for. She was found in a medical waste bin while still alive and breathing. And less than 3 years ago, baby Xantha in a Queensland hospital, her parents had gone in to end her life because she had Down syndrome. She was 19 weeks old. She could feel pain. She was born alive unexpectedly and dumped in an empty hospital room for 7 minutes until she passed. No one to even pick her up and give her a cuddle. Imagine that, your final moments in pain and no one to comfort you or hold you. We have to put an end to this, and we have to speak up. And through the work of our pro-life movement and through the grit and determination, we actually have a victory that I'm so excited to announce today. In the last 24 hours, the Queensland government has changed the termination of pregnancy guidelines, so we now have an equal right to care in Queensland for all children born alive in that state. And sometimes we can feel like it's hopeless. I know that's how I felt in South Australia in 2021 when I watched my parliament vote abortion up to birth for any reason. But when you think about this and you think that just in the last 24 hours we've had this victory, it shows us there is hope, that we must not give up, that we must stand and fight. This is our legacy. We need a new generation to chart a new course, to find a different way, to believe in a better Australia. And so this is what we must do together. I was terrified about speaking out on social media about abortion. I'm a professor of law at a secular university. We have a mortgage. I've got 5 kids. I was terrified. Everybody said you were going to lose your job in like 24 hours. But over a year later, I'm still here and I'm fighting and speaking out even harder. because I believe that Australia is a great country and that together we can fight for this future. So I want to ask you, and I've asked my kids if you can start to hand out the flyers now, or you might have done that already. There are 3 actions we all can do, because I think some of us think, I'll come to the March for Babies and then that's it, that's my pro-life work done for the year. I know there are other people here who work every day for the pro-life movement, but the reality is all of us cannot stop fighting and talking and speaking up on this issue, and I've got 3 actions that I would like to talk to you about now. Action number 1, please do follow me on social media. So at Dr. Joanna Howe on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. I never thought I'd say that. I was totally against social media. But when I realised that the mainstream media does not let us speak truth on abortion, they censor us, I realised that social media is a way we can reach people directly. So please follow me at Dr. Joanna Howe and join our movement. Second action item. There's a QR code that's being passed around and it takes you to a petition on birth equality. We've had this victory in Queensland overnight, but our work is not done. In a few weeks' time, Matt Canavan's bill will be before the federal parliament and they will be voting on a bill to create birth equality across our country. In a few weeks' time, our federal Senate will be meeting to discuss the plight of children born alive after an abortion. We know what Marie Stopes from the abortion industry says. They say this doesn't happen, but we know the truth that it does, that at least 1 child every week is born alive without a right to care. So we need the federal birth equality bill to pass, and I need your help to do it. Are you with me? Yeah. Can you do this? Yeah. So I need you to go to either the QR code that will take you to the website drjoannahowe.com/birth equality. It'll take you 10 seconds to put your name in there. That way you are signing our petition for a national birth equality law. I will then email you and show you how to very quickly email all your state senators to make sure they vote for this bill. I mean, what Australian could be against giving an equal right to care to all children born in this country? This should be non-controversial. So I need you to sign that petition, drjoannahowe.com/birth equality, to join our list. And then finally, we need to speak up. We need our voices to be loud. We need to not be afraid of speaking up. So right now, we're going to just chant to make sure that we're really on the same page. So I'm going to say, let them live. I'm going to chant together. So let them live. Let them live louder. Let them live. 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 Give yourselves a big round of applause. Woo! Well done. Okay. In a deeply divided America, Martin Luther King sat in a jail in Birmingham. He had been jailed because he was fighting for equality, which is what we are fighting for today. And Martin Luther King wrote a letter to his supporters and he said that what the world needs now is creative extremists. And that's what we need to be, friends. We need to be creative and we need to be extreme because we are facing the biggest fight of our lifetime. I love Australia. Australia is such a great country, but abortion is the biggest stain on our country today. Together, we must end it, and we will do it together. Thank you very much.